It's been a bit of a long time since I've had a good chat with you online, so sorry about that. It's been a bit of a busy year here. My name is John, I'm a wedding photographer, and you can find my work at jdsweddings.com. And every single person on my YouTube absolutely loves the what's in my bag, what's in my kit layouts. So I thought we would start off the new season of doing YouTube videos by just telling you what is in my 2021 going through to 2022 kit bag. Now, if you're new to the channel, first off, why don't you click subscribe? It just makes it a little bit easier to find my videos in the future. But I have been a Fujifilm photographer for coming up to 3 years now, 2018. We generally write off 2020 as nothing really happened there, so you could say 2 years really. Before that I was a Canon shooter, and I have no objections to changing systems. In fact, I may be changing the systems in 2022. But first off, I'm just going to run through every single thing that I use in my wedding photography kit. I have a 2020 edition on my page, and you can see the differences and see how I slowly upgrade and change gear and the reasoning and what's been modified. So first off, we'll start with the Fuji Xt3, which I'm shooting on right now. I have done multiple videos about this, unboxings, reviews, settings, every single thing you can think of. Currently it's sitting in a small rig cage, so I've got side handles, I've got monitors at the top, I've got all the little things to make video a little bit easier. And right on the front I have the Fujifilm 10-24 f4 lens. Now this lens is probably my least used lens for photography, but my most used lens for video. And if you're a hybrid shooter, if you're shooting video and photo, maybe professionally as well, it's a really good addition to have into the bag. It is stabilized, it is nice and compact, it's not actually that expensive. It's an f4, so there is one which is 2.8 variant, so it lets in double the amount of light. But for what I need and shooting it in log at a certain ISO and settings, this is absolutely fine. And I've already shot a couple of videos professionally for weddings with it. I mounted it on the Xt3 and then on a gimbal, just ran around with a stick all day, and yeah, super smooth footage. I really like that. Away from those two, I'm also using a three-legged thing, Cori tripod. It's one of the Punk series. It's about £150. Nice little compact tripod. It's aluminium. It's really easy, grippy. Customer service for three-legged thing are fantastic. If you ever get stuck and a bit fails or something happens, just ping them an email. Probably send you one out in the next few days. So I've only recently upgraded from my old Viv one after 6 years. And very happy with this one. It comes with me in the back of the car. Don't always use it, but it's nice to have for composites. It's nice to rest the camera on if I'm filming and I don't have the monopod. Moving down into the bag just next to me, we're going to take everything out because the bag actually still needs a clean. And if you've watched my previous video, it's the same Manfrotto Roller 70 bag. It's getting absolutely battered, screws are now falling apart. I sit on it, which you probably shouldn't do at my weight. But it still protects all my gear, keeps it in one place, which is really nice. And just because it can roll, I find that's really handy to move it around the venue. You can dump stuff in, there are tons of pockets. Aside to that, I have the Low Pro, I think this is the AW450. It's a very big backpack. It feels like a biker's backpack. But it's got a nice cooling back to it. And it backloads, so no one can really nick your stuff. I take this out on smaller events, so charity event work, boxing events, proms, that kind of stuff, where I don't need all of my gear. But for weddings, I'll still use the big roller, just because everything's in there and I don't need to spend those few minutes taking things out, putting it in another one. Moving on to my B camera, this is the Fujifilm Xt20. This has nowhere near the specs of the Xt3, but it will do in a pinch. It shares, you know, the same lenses and same form factor. Menu systems on the back are pretty similar. They do rock different sensors. It's a previous generation to the Fujifilm Xt3, so the ISO range isn't going to be as great. There are some problems with color matching in post when you're using a Series 3 and a Series 4 sensor. It will do, but when I'm upgrading, this one is going to go first, so sorry. Fujifilm Xt3, you've been good and it's in very good condition. I've probably shot about 15,000 plus wedding photos with just this one, so it's definitely paid for itself by now. On the front of it is one of my newest and favourite additions. That is the Fujifilm Xt3 1.4, the original version of it. And I got given, I'm really lucky, the square lens hood for it. And this thing, I mean, I'll should probably do an entire video about this. It's like a £60 lens hood. But this little 23 1.4, it's a great lens. It's potentially not as good for video. The motors inside of it aren't as quiet or linear as the new ones, which you have all the internal focusing and it's very quiet. This is very, and if you leave your camera to continuously focus, so it kind of pre-prepares in advance as you're taking a shot, it's really loud and it's going to take a lot of your battery power, of which Fujifilm, you know, batteries aren't the biggest in the world, so you want to preserve that by turning that off. But this at 1.4, it gives great results, and it's an equivalent around 35mm on a full frame, so it gives you that nice natural look. It's not too wide, people too close to the camera don't really get stretched at the edges. It's really handy, and it's a nice compact form factor, especially if I put a little grip like I have done on this one. Little grip and Arca Swiss plate on the side of the Fuji. It's just a really nice compact setup. Now we're going into the real big ones. This is the Fujifilm Xt3 2.8 IS XF big lens. It's the 7200 equivalent for Fujifilm, and I got this for an absolute steal. It's such good value. It was under £1,000, second hand. It came really good condition, all the original bits and bobs on it. These are just really nice, versatile lens to have for event work. Pairing that with other 2.8 lenses that you may find in my bag, you will get constant aperture throughout the range. You don't really have to change any settings. Now it comes down to the point of how far away do I need to take photos from, so people on the other side of a room or something. This will capture that. It's really heavy. It's heavier than the camera by a long way. And even though we're shooting mirrorless with smaller systems, this is smaller than the 70-200 Canon that I used to own, still really heavy. Maybe I'm just getting tired now with carrying heavy stuff around all day at a wedding. But really nice. Internal focusing again. There's a detachable foot collar, so you can mount it on a, you know, a monopod or whatever if you're doing video. Also really good for video. I was shooting an event handheld with this, no monopod, no nothing, getting nice stable footage about, I'd probably say about 50 foot away, so nice thing to have. Probably a bit on the pricier side if you're trying to just choose your first few lenses. I'd probably stay away from the 70-200 equivalents straight away. So nice to have. In other videos and many other videos, I talk praises and I say so many good things about the kit lens that comes with the Fujifilm, the 18-55 2.8-4 IS lens. I've sold it. I got really good value for it, and I found a really good used 16-55 2.8 lens. This is a constant aperture, and although I lose the image stabilization, which is really nice to have, and now I'm all shaky because there's no IBIS and no IS on this either, the quality that this produces is fantastic at all ranges, 16, 55, everything, color rendition, the 3D pop effect that you get with some of them, even the bokeh in the background. And when you pair them together with the 50-140, it's a killer combination. Now I'll be doing a completely separate review on the 16-55 when I get a chance, but it's a lens I've been wanting for a long time, and I struggled to find a reason, because especially we were dropping the image stabilization, and I was hoping that Fujifilm would bring out a second gen of it with IS, but alas no. So yeah, I shelled out on that one. It was about £700 for a second-hand one, so £500 after a trade-in. Very happy with it. It's already paid itself off in just a few weddings. So you know what, that's actually it for lenses. I don't carry around the Nikon 50mm with the manual adapters anymore, no Helios lenses, no nothing. I keep to the good quality high-end lenses that can just perform really functionally and get me the images I really need. I don't have a 56mm 1.2 anymore, that got sold. I don't have a 12mm f2 manual lens, that got traded in. Moving on, I'm still keeping the extension tubes. This is just so I can do a couple of macro shots. I can just pair it with a, you know, the 70-200 or something, get really close to some rings and just get those 1 or 2 shots. Much cheaper than just buying a specific macro lens just for that one time you take a ring shot or a detail shot. Oh, I forgot to mention that I'm still rocking the Fujifilm Xt3 Grip for weddings. However, using the straps that I do where they attach to the bottom, it's very uncomfortable on the long haul, so I don't wear it often. I don't use it that much. I've had a couple of failures now with the pins, because as you can tell, I just keep it in my bag with the contact pins exposed, and the same on the bottom of the Fuji. So it is getting a little bit battered, but it's nice to have if you do shoot in the portrait orientation option, just because it's got the little joystick at the bottom, and it's got all the functional scroll wheels, even a lock button at the top if you are heavy-handed like me. I have now upgraded the Yongnuo series to Godox. I've got one V860 Mark II F, which is for Fujifilm. These are incredible, absolutely amazing flashes. This is one that, you know, you can mount on top of your camera, so you can bend it and swivel it and all that business. It's lithium battery powered, and I can go through an entire wedding shooting this for a large majority of it. So first dance, indoor event work, prep at the beginning. I don't know, I could probably fire about 400 or 500 shots with this. Doesn't even use one battery. I haven't bought a second one, can do if I need to. But it's got cool functions like high speed sync. It means I can go above the 180 shutter speed that I have on the camera. It's really versatile. It's got lots of modes. You can set it to manual, to TTL. You can set it to be the trigger on top of your camera if you don't have a trigger, so you can fire a secondary flash. And it's actually really powerful. Like the brightness that comes out of it, really nice. My secondary is the AD200 by Godox. Now this is a slightly dumber flash, but you trade that in for the sheer power and stupidity that this thing can provide. So it's a 200 watt flash, which is on par with my studio flashes that I have in the attic. It's a big chunky thing, again, lithium batteries. You have to fire it with a trigger, because this you cannot mount on your camera easily. You can get adapters. Again, battery life is incredible on this. This has a nice little feature where you can change the Fresnel head. So this Fresnel head comes off, and you can actually swap it for a bare bulb. Bare bulbs are really handy if you are using like soft boxes, because ideally you want to have that light wrap around, go in all directions. You don't want it to face forwards, because then you create weird hot spots in your softbox. Simply goes like this, straight on the front, and then we've got a nice little bulb at the front. These are replaceable as well, and that will fit into my softbox, which I'm actually lighting with currently, if I'm doing any nice group shots or couple shots, this kind of stuff. And I just keep the basic mount that they provided on the bottom that goes straight on a heavy duty stand. To pair with it, I use the trigger. This is the Godox X2T. I did have until a few months ago the X1T, but there is a known issue with Fujifilm when you turn them on. It triggers all of the modelling lights on all of the Godox series, and you have to then go up and turn them off manually. And if it's up a 3 meter stand, it's a bit inconvenient, waste your power. So they sent me an X2T out, and this thing is real nice. It's got a locking hot shoe at the bottom. Scroll wheel is much easier to use than the first one. Highly recommended, and shout out to Len Carter for replacing that one within the warranty period. I'm still also rocking the Magmod Attachments on this Fresnel, and also on the V860 when I have it. Those big magnetic ears on the side there, they're attached to this stack of, I've got a grid, 2 grids in fact, there we go, some gels to warm or cool down colours, 2 of them, and a sphere just to soften any directional light. These I use the grids for the first dance, just to control that light into a little area instead, and I use a sphere to just soften my light if I'm bouncing it for prep, that kind of bridal prep, that kind of stuff. And if I need to slip in a CTO, quarter, half, whatever. Bought the entire pack of the gel options in there just so I can modify it, and it's actually really handy. I don't know how I would do a wedding without them now, which is a weird one. I did also used to use the Mag Bounce, but I haven't taken it with me in the past few months. It's more of a spreading out lights kind of tool, a bit like an umbrella. Just keep forgetting to put it in the bag. It's actually behind the camera currently. Probably put it back in after this one. One thing I've definitely been doing recently is carrying a charger and then a USB to wall plug just in the bag. You never know if your batteries are going to fail, and after a year of not shooting, 2 of my batteries did fail. I still use the wandered Sling strap. This I will attach to one camera only, the Fujifilm Xt3, if I just want to carry one camera for a while. Maybe I don't need 2 cameras because the pace is a bit slower. Not too many things are happening, or it's at the end of the day and it's a dancing and I only need a wide angle and an on-camera flash or something. This will negate my use of the big chunky Holdfast strap. Talking of that, it's the Holdfast Moneymaker strap, this absolute chunky unit of a leather strap. This cost over £300 to import. I think it was a bit of a whim, it was a bit of a fad at the time. It's large, I've had it for 6-7 years and it's still not fully comfortable. I don't use leather anymore due to my lifestyle. The catches at the bottom, although they are robust and your camera's never going to come off, clips into the hole at the bottom where you would put your tripod, and it sticks out, you know, when you've actually attached this. Bear with. So hook that in, you get pretty good at hooking these in. There you go. So that stays in there, and if you imagine you're trying to shoot a lot of portrait, your hand's on there, and it's you know, I've got big hands and that's quite uncomfortable to have. Sometimes it can, you know, get a bit stuck. And oh, you know, this thing, when you've got it on, it goes over your shoulders. I mean, it is much better than having it around your neck, for sure. But it pinches here, it catches your shirt, you can damage your shirt. Leaves room for improvement, put it that way. I may jump over to Peak Design with the little lugs, the little ears on the side of the cameras going forwards, just because it's I like that kind of seat belty material that these ones are made out of. May reach out to Wonder to see if they'll do a dual one of these. I wouldn't do two of them in a cross shape because that can be quite dangerous, you know, around your neck. But anything that you can do to stop straps coming down here, so make it a sling or a holster version, is really essential for a wedding day. So I like the idea, maybe don't like the product so much anymore. Recording yourself for social media and YouTube and stuff, I've always used the GoPro 7 Black because it's got a stabilizer inside. I used to mount it next to the camera or attach something around the camera to shoot on top. Nowadays, very simple little setup here. This is a crocodile clip, and that will go on my strap there, on this shoulder here. Because I will primarily be right-handed, it doesn't really move around and go up and down. I've tried here, I've tried everywhere else. That, although it's a little bit uncomfortable, gives a really nice angle, really clear, generally don't get in the shot. That folds up and protects the lens, which is a nice little way of doing it. Right, here is something super secret and I'm going to share with you now. This is a Fujifilm printer. It's an Instax printer. I think it's the SP2. You load a pack of Instax into the back, you know, they're like £5 to £7 for a pack of 10. This will connect directly to a Fujifilm with no difficult setup. So you find a picture in your camera, you make sure it's a JPEG, so you convert to RAW if you haven't done. Then you press print to Instax and it pops out the top. And in 2 minutes, you've got an image which was shot on your Fujis with all the bokeh and the colors and everything, printed physically. Can you imagine the effectiveness of giving that to a bride and groom, or giving that to a couple who are just so happen to say hello and they're engaged and stuff? That is much better than a business card. If you stick on the back your details, like I've got little stickers in there, that is a surefire way to be noticed, to be different. This thing is an absolute game changer. I've had my eye on one for a few years now. Didn't realise it was that easy to actually print direct from the cameras. Both cameras do it as well. So SP2, SP3, I think there's a wide printer coming out soon which just takes the bigger one, the bigger film. I'll be honest, the kit is actually a lot smaller than it used to be, so we're nearly done. The last thing I carry with me is just the Peak Design Sling. This is a little bag. It's not big enough to put a camera in, annoyingly, unless you've got an X100 series. But it is actually really handy. Got some nice storage in there. Get some light in that one. Got some nice storage options in there. I keep it on my back, or Roban style, just at the front here, or you can even put it through your belt if you're not wanting to sit down ever. And this will store things like extra batteries, business cards, that printer, gels, little attachments and accessories, memory cards, that kind of thing. I would love to have a slightly bigger version of this, just to be able to hold one camera maybe, but overall for about £45, imported from America as well. It's a really nice piece of kit, and pure black because I wear pretty much black just for wedding days anyway. There are some extra little bits, ND filters for shooting video, memory cards, which I now just use the SanDisk Pro Black ones. So the kit is a reflection of my shooting style. I like efficiency and lightweightedness at a wedding, because weddings are long. The expectation of where you have to be and what you have to shoot, you can be on your feet for a very long time. I'd recommend good footwear. I use the Allbirds Tree Runners, I think, which are jet black shoes, and they look like smart shoes, but they're trainers, and they're just best investment I've had on any of my wedding gear so far. I may be jumping to Sony in the future. I'm in two minds about it, but the Fujifilm kit, there are some serious issues when you compare them up against similar cameras in the price range. I lack in-body image stabilization, which I know I can get on the Xt4, but also I shoot a lot in low light and in opportunities where sometimes you can't use flash for various reasons. The maximum ISO on the Xt3, Xt4 series, because they share the same sensor, is not as high as maybe other cameras in the range. And I also miss that full frame look that you can get when you use like a proper decent like 1.842 prime on it. So I may be taking the jump. Black Friday is rolling around soon and I've already priced up a few of my gear. First few things to go, unfortunately, is going to be the 50 to 140, the Xt20, sorry buddy, and that 23 1.4. I will be exchanging it for a camera with just a prime lens, and for at least a year probably be shooting Xt3 and a Sony. Probably going to go for the Sony A7 III. I've had experience with it and I've shot it at a few weddings this year, so I've got the files, I know how they work. It's just getting my head around those menus I've heard are pretty spicy. Anyway, if you liked this review of my gear this year, stick around and leave a comment. What's your favourite piece of kit? What is something that you think I would have benefited from in my kit repertoire this year? And I will see you in a future video.